arrived at the cottage just after dusk, the sky bruised purple and the air heavy with the scent of wet earth. The place had belonged to my great-uncle Rowan, a man I barely remembered except for his strange letters and the way he always smelled faintly of smoke. When the solicitor told me I had inherited his property, I felt nothing but mild curiosity. I had no idea what waited for me behind the crooked fence and the sagging roof. The cottage sat at the edge of the moor, half swallowed by tall grass. Its windows were dark, though I could swear something moved behind the glass as I approached. A trick of the fading light, I told myself. A shadow, a memory, nothing more. Then I saw the cat. It sat on the stone step, black as the night gathering behind it, with eyes the color of old bone. Not white, not silver, but something in between, like the pale gleam of a distant star. It did not blink. It did not move. It simply watched me as if it had been waiting. I hesitated. The cat tilted its head, and the air around me seemed to tighten, as though the world itself held its breath. "You should leave," something inside me whispered. But I had come too far to turn back. The cat rose and slipped through the half-open door. I followed inside. The cottage smelled of dust and cold stone. The floorboards creaked under my weight, though the cat moved without a sound. My footsteps echoed strangely, as if the walls were listening. The air felt thick, almost warm, like the breath of a sleeping animal. I found the light switch. It did nothing. The cat sat in the center of the room, staring at a door I had not noticed before. It was narrow, crooked, and painted the same color as the wall, as if someone had tried to hide it. A faint draft seeped from the gap beneath it, carrying a smell like damp soil and something older, something metallic. I reached for the handle. The cat hissed, not a warning hiss, a desperate one. A sound that vibrated through the floorboards and into my bones. I froze, hand hovering inches from the metal. The cottage groaned. The walls shifted subtly but unmistakably, as though the house were adjusting itself around me. I stepped back, heart pounding. The cat's eyes glowed faintly in the dark, reflecting a light I could not see. Then I heard it. A slow, deliberate tapping from behind the hidden door, 3 taps. A pause. 3 more. As if someone on the other side were knocking with the patience of a thing that had all the time in the world. I whispered, "Who is there?" The tapping stopped. The cat pressed itself against my leg, trembling. I knelt, instinctively reaching to comfort it. But the moment my hand touched its fur, the cottage exhaled. A long, low sigh that came from everywhere at once. The walls, the floor, the ceiling. The house was breathing. I stumbled back, nearly tripping over the cat. The tapping resumed, faster now, more insistent. The hidden door rattled in its frame. The cat bolted toward the front door, yowling. I followed without thinking, flinging the door open and stumbling into the cold night air behind me. The tapping stopped. The cottage fell silent. The cat sat beside me on the step, its pale eyes fixed on the door I had just fled. It did not look afraid. It looked expectant, as if this was only the beginning. I slept poorly that first night. The wind scraped against the windows like fingernails, and every time I drifted toward sleep, I heard the faint rhythm of tapping from somewhere inside the cottage. 3 taps, a pause, 3 more. Always the same pattern, as if the thing behind the hidden door were patient enough to wait until I was most vulnerable. The cat lay curled at the foot of the bed, its pale eyes half open, watching the darkness. I did not remember letting it inside. I did not remember closing the front door either. Yet both had happened. The cottage seemed to make decisions when I was not looking. Just before dawn, the tapping stopped. The cat lifted its head, ears twitching, and stared at the bedroom door. I held my breath, listening. Nothing. Only silence thick enough to feel. When morning finally came, the cottage looked almost normal. Dusty, old, neglected, but harmless. The hidden door was still there, though the draft beneath it felt colder than before. I avoided looking at it for too long. The cat followed me everywhere. Into the kitchen, into the hallway, even into the bathroom, where it sat with its back turned as if granting me privacy. When I tried to shoo it away, it simply blinked slowly, unimpressed. I made coffee, though. The cottage smelled faintly of something metallic that ruined my appetite. The cat sat on the table, tail wrapped neatly around its paws, staring at the window. Its ears twitched at sounds I could not hear. "You are not mine," I muttered. The cat blinked once, as if acknowledging a truth we both already knew. I stepped outside to get some air. The moor stretched endlessly in every direction, a sea of grass rippling under the pale morning light. The cottage looked smaller from the outside, almost fragile, a place that should not have survived as long as it had. When I turned back, the cat was sitting in the doorway. It had not made a sound. I walked toward it. It did not move. Instead, it looked past me toward the moor, and its fur bristled. A low growl vibrated in its throat, directed not at me but at something behind me. I spun around. Nothing. Only grass and wind. But the cat kept growling, its gaze fixed on a point far beyond the horizon. Then, slowly its growl faded. It stepped aside, allowing me to enter the cottage again. Inside, the air felt heavier. The hidden door was open. Only a crack, but enough to see darkness behind it. A darkness that looked thicker than shadow, as if it had weight. The draft that seeped from it was colder than ice. I froze. The cat hissed and ran toward the door, slamming its body against it. The door swung shut with a dull thud. The cat remained pressed against it, fur raised, eyes glowing faintly. I whispered, "How did it open?" The cat did not look at me. It stared at the door as if expecting it to move again. I approached slowly. The wood felt worn under my fingertips, as if something on the other side had touched it recently. The tapping did not return, but the silence felt wrong, stretched too thin. I stepped back. The cat finally turned to me, its pale eyes reflecting a light I could not see. It meowed once, a soft sound that carried an odd urgency, as if it were telling me something, warning me, or asking for help. I did not yet understand which, but I would. Soon enough. The second night in the cottage was worse than the first. I tried to convince myself that the tapping behind the hidden door had been nothing more than old wood shifting, but the lie did not hold. The house felt awake now, aware of me in a way that made my skin crawl. The cat refused to leave my side. It followed me from room to room, always watching the walls, never the windows. When I sat, it sat. When I stood, it stood. When I tried to close it out of the bedroom, it scratched the door until I let it in again. I told myself I allowed it because I felt sorry for it. But the truth was simpler. I did not want to be alone. The night settled thick and heavy. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, listening to the wind. The cat curled beside me, its breathing slow and steady. For a moment I almost drifted into sleep. Then the scratching began. Not tapping. Scratching long, slow drags of something sharp against the inside of the walls, not at the hidden door this time. Everywhere behind the headboard, beneath the floorboards. Inside the ceiling. As if something were crawling through the bones of the house, searching for a way out. The cat bolted upright, fur bristling. It hissed at the wall beside the bed, a deep, guttural sound I had never heard from an animal before. The scratching paused, then resumed faster, more frantic. I whispered, "What is happening?" The cat growled, low and trembling. The scratching moved. It traveled along the wall down toward the floor, then across the room toward the door. I heard the faintest thump, as if something pressed against the other side. Then a voice, soft, muffled, impossible. "Let me in." I froze. The cat leapt from the bed and planted itself between me and the door, its back arched, its eyes glowing with a pale, unnatural light. The voice came again, clearer this time. "Let me in, please. It is cold." The voice sounded familiar. My breath caught in my throat. It sounded like my mother. "She had been dead for years," I whispered. "You are not real." The voice shifted, cracking like old wood. "Let me in. I am so cold." The cat hissed again, louder, and the light in its eyes brightened until it cast faint shadows across the room. The scratching stopped abruptly. The voice fell silent. For a long moment, there was nothing. Then, from the hallway, the tapping returned. 3 taps. A pause, 3 more. The cat turned its head slowly toward the bedroom door. Its tail lashed once, twice, as if preparing for a fight. I felt the air change, growing colder, heavier, as though the house were holding its breath again. I whispered, "What do you want from me?" The tapping stopped. A soft creak echoed from the hallway. The sound of a door opening, not the hidden one, not the front door, the bedroom door. The handle turned slowly, deliberately, as if guided by an unseen hand. The cat launched itself at the door with a snarl, slamming its body against the wood. The handle jerked violently, then stilled. The door remained shut. The cottage groaned, a deep, resonant sound that vibrated through the floor. The cat stayed pressed against the door, panting, its eyes dimming back to their usual pale glow. I sat frozen in bed, unable to move. The house had tried to come in, and the cat had stopped it. But as I stared at the trembling animal, a new thought crept into my mind, cold and unwelcome. If the cat was protecting me now, what had it been doing before I arrived? And why had it been waiting? Morning came with a thin, colorless light that barely reached the cottage windows. I felt as though I had not slept at all. The cat sat on the dresser, watching me with unblinking eyes, as if waiting for me to acknowledge what had happened during the night. I did not want to. I dressed quickly and stepped into the hallway. The air felt colder than it should have, as if the house had been left open all night. The floorboards creaked under my feet, but the sound seemed muted, swallowed by something unseen. The hidden door was closed, but it was no longer where it had been. It had shifted several inches to the left. the outline now misaligned with the wall's old paint. I stared at it, heart pounding, trying to convince myself I was mistaken. But the faint scrape marks on the floor told the truth. The door had moved. The cat padded into the hallway, tail low, ears flattened. It hissed softly at the door, but the sound lacked the force of the night before, as if the cat were tired or afraid. I whispered, "What is behind it?" The cat did not answer, of course, but it stepped between me and the door, blocking my path. Its pale eyes glowed faintly, reflecting a light that did not exist. I backed away. I spent the morning exploring the cottage, hoping to distract myself. The place was larger than it looked from the outside, with narrow hallways and rooms that seemed to shift in size depending on where I stood. I found old photographs of my great-uncle Rowan, though his face was always turned away from the camera, blurred or obscured by shadow. In one photo, the cat sat beside him. It looked exactly the same as it did now, no older, no younger. I dropped the photograph. The cat appeared at my feet, silent as ever. It nudged my hand with its head, a strangely gentle gesture. I knelt and stroked its fur. It felt warm, alive, grounding. Then the cottage groaned, a deep, resonant sound that vibrated through the floorboards. The cat stiffened. I stood slowly, listening. The sound came again, louder this time, as if the house were shifting its weight. I walked toward the living room. The hidden door was open, only a sliver, but enough to see darkness beyond it. A darkness that pulsed faintly, like the slow beat of a distant heart. The draft that seeped from the gap was colder than before, carrying a faint metallic scent. The cat hissed and ran toward the door, slamming its body against it. The door swung shut with a dull thud. The cat remained pressed against it, trembling. I whispered, "Why does it keep opening?" The cottage answered. A soft whisper drifted through the hallway, a voice so faint I could barely hear it, a voice that sounded like my own. "Let me out." I stumbled back, heart racing. The cat snarled, its eyes glowing brighter, casting pale light across the floor. The whisper faded, swallowed by the house. The door shuddered once, then fell still. The cat turned to me, panting softly. For the first time, I saw fear in its eyes, not the instinctive fear of an animal, but something deeper, something knowing. I knelt beside it. "What are you?" I whispered. The cat blinked slowly, then looked toward the hidden door, as if the answer was behind it, as if the thing inside knew me, as if the cat had been fighting it long before I arrived. The cottage groaned again, louder this time, and the floor beneath us trembled. Dust drifted from the ceiling. The cat pressed itself against my leg, trembling. The door rattled once, twice, then fell silent. I realized something then, something cold and unwelcome. The house was not trying to keep something in. It was trying to let something out. And the cat was the only thing stopping it. I spent most of the day trying to convince myself that the cottage was only a house, that the shifting door and the whispers were tricks of exhaustion and fear. But the lie grew thinner with every hour. The air felt wrong. The walls seemed to pulse faintly, as if the house were breathing again, and the cat never left my side. By late afternoon, I decided to search the attic. I had avoided it since my arrival, partly because the narrow staircase looked ready to collapse, and partly because the cat hissed every time I approached it. But something in the house had changed. The air felt heavier, as if waiting. Watching, the cat followed me to the base of the stairs, then stopped. It sat down, tail wrapped tightly around its paws, and stared up into the darkness. Its eyes glowed faintly, reflecting a light I could not see. "You are not coming," I whispered. The cat blinked once. Slow and deliberate, I climbed alone. The attic was colder than the rest of the house. Dust hung in the air like a thin fog, and the wooden beams creaked under my weight. Old trunks and boxes lined the walls, their lids warped with age. Cobwebs clung to every corner. I found the journal in a wooden chest beneath a moth-eaten blanket. It was bound in cracked leather, the pages yellowed and brittle. My great-uncle Rowan's name was written on the first page in a shaky hand. I sat on the floor, the journal resting on my knees, and began to read. The entries were fragmented, written in a hurried scrawl. "The house is older than the village, older than the moor. It shifts when it is hungry." I felt a chill crawl up my spine. "The cat watches the doors. It is not mine. It never was. It belongs to the thing beneath the floor." I froze. The cat hissed at the hidden door again last night. It knows when the house is waking. It knows when the voices are lying. I turned the page with trembling fingers. The door moved again. I nailed it shut. It opened anyway. My breath caught. The house wants a name. It wants a voice. It wants a shape. It learns through the cracks. The next entry was smeared, as if written in the dark. "Do not speak to it. Do not answer. Do not listen when it sounds like someone you love." I swallowed hard. The cat is not a guardian. It is a warning. The final entry was written in a different hand, smaller, neater, almost calm. I am leaving. The house will not let me go, but I must try. If someone finds this, do not stay. Do not sleep here. Do not open the door that moves. The page ended there. I closed the journal slowly, my hands shaking. The attic felt colder now, the air pressing against my skin. I stood and turned toward the stairs. The cat was waiting at the top step. It stared at me, eyes glowing faintly, tail twitching. I knelt and held out my hand. The cat approached, sniffed my fingers, then nudged my palm with its head. As if reassuring me, as if urging me to hurry, we descended together. Halfway down the stairs, the cottage groaned. A deep, resonant sound that vibrated through the walls. The cat hissed, fur bristling. I nearly lost my footing. When we reached the hallway, I saw it. The hidden door was open again, wide open. The darkness behind it pulsed faintly, like a slow heartbeat. The draft that seeped from it was colder than ice, carrying the metallic scent of something ancient. A whisper drifted from the doorway. Soft, familiar, wrong. Come here. The cat leapt between me and the door, eyes blazing with pale light. The whisper changed. It spoke my name. The house had learned my voice. The whisper lingered long after it faded, clinging to the air like smoke. Hearing my own voice coming from the darkness behind the hidden door left me shaking, unable to breathe properly. The cat pressed against my leg, trembling, its pale eyes fixed on the open doorway. I forced myself to move. I reached out and pushed the door shut. The wood felt warm beneath my palm, as if something on the other side had touched it only moments before. The latch clicked softly, but the sound offered no comfort. The cat hissed once, low and exhausted, then slumped onto the floor as if the effort of keeping the door closed had drained it. I knelt beside it, running my hand gently along its back. Its fur was warm, almost feverish. "You saved me," I whispered. The cat blinked slowly, but there was something different in its eyes now. Not fear, not warning. Something else. Something I could not name. I carried the cat to the living room and set it on the couch. It curled into a tight ball, tail wrapped around its body, eyes half closed. I sat beside it, staring at the hidden door in the hallway. The house was quiet. Too quiet. I opened my great-uncle's journal again, flipping through the pages with shaking hands. I searched for anything that might explain what the house wanted, why it spoke with my voice, why the cat fought so desperately to keep the door shut. One line caught my eye. "It learns through the cracks." I whispered the words aloud, tasting their weight. The house was learning me. My voice, my name, my presence. Every moment I spent inside it, it grew stronger, more familiar, more alive. I closed the journal and stood. The cat lifted its head, watching me with tired eyes. I walked to the kitchen, needing space, needing air. The cottage felt smaller than before, the walls closer, the ceiling lower. I opened the window. Cold air rushed in, carrying the scent of the moor. For a moment I felt relief. Then I saw it. Footprints in the mud. Not mine. Not the cat's. Bare human footprints leading from the tall grass straight to the cottage door. The prints were deep, as if whoever made them had stood there for a long time, watching, waiting. I slammed the window shut. The cat yowled from the living room, a sharp, urgent sound. The cat stood on the couch, fur bristling, staring at the hallway. The hidden door was open again, wide open. The darkness behind it pulsed faintly, like a slow heartbeat. The draft that seeped from it carried the metallic scent of something ancient and hungry. A whisper drifted from the doorway. Soft, familiar, wrong. "Come here. I need you." The voice was mine, but not exactly. It was stretched, distorted, as if spoken by something that had only recently learned how to shape the words. The cat leapt from the couch and ran toward the door, eyes blazing with pale light. It hissed, louder than before, the sound echoing through the cottage. The whisper faltered, then changed. It spoke my name again, but this time it sounded like someone else. Someone I had not heard in years, my sister. She had died when I was young. The cat froze. Its eyes dimmed, its tail lowered. For the first time since I arrived, the cat stepped back from the door, as if the voice had reached something inside it, as if the house had learned not only my name, but the cat's weakness. I whispered, "Do not listen." The cat trembled. The whisper grew stronger. "Come here, please. I am cold." The cat took another step back. The darkness behind the door pulsed brighter, and I realized something terrible. The house was not trying to lure me. It was trying to lure the cat, because the cat was not just a guardian. It was a key, and the house wanted it. The house grew colder after the whisper took my sister's voice. The air felt heavier, as if the walls were thickening around me. The cat paced the living room in tight circles, tail low, ears flat, its pale eyes flicking constantly toward the hallway where the hidden door waited. I sat on the couch, Rowan's journal open in my lap, though I could barely focus on the words. My hands trembled. My breath came shallow. The cottage felt smaller than ever, as if it were folding inward, drawing me closer to the door that should never have opened. The cat stopped pacing and stared at me. Its gaze was intense, almost pleading. I whispered, "What do you want me to do?" The cat blinked once, then turned toward the hallway. As if telling me to follow, I stood slowly, heart pounding. The cat walked ahead, its steps silent on the wooden floor. The hallway stretched longer than it should have, the shadows deeper, the air colder. The hidden door was closed now, but the wood pulsed faintly, as if something behind it breathed in slow, patient rhythm. The cat stopped in front of the door. It sat, it stared, it waited. I whispered, "I cannot open it." The cat turned its head toward me, and for the first time, I saw something in its eyes that made my stomach twist expectation. As if it wanted me to open the door, as if that had been its goal all along. I stepped back. No, the cat's ears twitched. It rose slowly, its tail flicking once, twice. Then it walked past the door and continued down the hallway. I followed, confused, uneasy. The hallway felt wrong, stretched, as though the house were rearranging itself around us. At the end of the hall, a new door waited. A door that had not been there before. It was tall, narrow, and made of dark wood that looked damp, as if it had been pulled from the earth moments ago. No handle, no hinges, just a vertical slit of darkness where the frame met the wall. The cat sat before it. I whispered, "What is this?" The house answered. A soft creak echoed through the hallway, followed by a faint scraping sound. Something moved behind the new door, something tall, something slow, something that dragged its limbs across the floor. The cat hissed, but the sound was weak, uncertain. The scraping grew louder, then stopped. A shadow appeared beneath the door, long, thin, wrong. I stumbled back, heart hammering. The cat did not move. It stared at the door, its eyes glowing faintly, but the glow flickered like a dying flame. The shadow shifted, then rose. A voice drifted through the crack beneath the door, soft, breathy, almost human. "Let me see you." The cat yowled, a desperate, broken sound. It pressed itself against the door as if trying to hold it shut. The wood trembled beneath its weight. The voice changed. It spoke my name slowly, deliberately, perfectly. The cat turned its head toward me, eyes wide, pupils thin slits of fear. The door bulged outward as if something behind it pressed its face against the wood. "Let me see you." The cat leapt back, fur bristling, and ran toward me. It circled my legs, pushing, urging, forcing me backward. I stumbled, nearly falling. But the cat kept pushing until we reached the living room. The moment we crossed the threshold, the house groaned. The new door slammed shut. The shadow vanished. The cat collapsed at my feet, panting, trembling, its pale eyes dim. I knelt beside it, running my hand along its back. "You saved me again," I whispered. The cat blinked slowly, but something in its gaze had changed. It was not just fear. It was recognition. As if the thing behind the door had not only learned my name, it had learned the cat's too. And now it wanted both of us. The cottage did not return to normal after the new door slammed shut. The air felt charged, as if the house were holding its breath, waiting for something to happen. The cat stayed close to me, but its behavior had changed. It no longer hissed at every sound. It no longer guarded the hallway. Instead, it watched me, constantly, as if studying me, as if waiting for me to understand something it could not say. I tried to distract myself by cleaning, by reading Rowan's journal again, by stepping outside for air. But the moor felt wrong too. The wind carried whispers that faded when I tried to listen. The grass shifted in patterns that looked almost deliberate, and the footprints I had seen earlier were gone, erased as if the earth itself had swallowed them. When I returned to the cottage, the cat was sitting in the center of the living room, staring at the hallway. The hidden door was closed, but the new door was gone. As if it had never existed, I whispered, "What is happening?" The cat blinked once, then stood and walked toward the hallway. I followed, heart pounding. The hallway looked normal again. The walls the same faded color, the floorboards the same uneven pattern. But something felt off. The air was colder, the shadows deeper. Halfway down the hall, the cat stopped. It stared at the wall, not the hidden door. Not the place where the new door had been, a different spot entirely. I frowned. The wall looked solid, unremarkable, but the cat lifted its paw and tapped the wood once, lightly. The wall moved. A seam appeared, thin as a hairline crack. Then another. The wood shifted, groaning softly, and a door took shape where none had been before. A door made of the same faded paint as the wall, as if the house had grown it in an instant. The cat stepped back. I whispered, "No, not again." But the door opened on its own. A cold draft swept into the hallway, carrying the scent of damp earth and something metallic. The room beyond was dark, but not empty. I felt its presence before I saw anything. A weight, a pressure, a sense of being watched by something that had no eyes. The cat walked inside. I froze. It did not look back at me. It did not hiss or warn or tremble. It simply entered the room as if it belonged there. As if it had been waiting for this moment. I whispered, "Come back." The cat disappeared into the darkness. I stepped to the threshold. The room was larger than it should have been, stretching far beyond the boundaries of the cottage. The walls were made of rough stone, damp and cold. The floor sloped downward, leading into deeper shadow. I took a step inside. The door slammed shut behind me. Darkness swallowed the hallway. I spun around, heart racing, but the door was gone. Only smooth stone remained. The room hummed softly, a low vibration that traveled through the floor and into my bones. The cat sat at the bottom of the sloping floor, its pale eyes glowing faintly. I whispered, "Why did you bring me here?" The cat blinked slowly. Then something moved in the darkness behind it. Tall, thin, wrong. A shape that did not walk so much as unfold itself from the shadows. Its limbs were too long, its head tilted at an impossible angle. Its body shimmered faintly, as if it were made of smoke and bone. The cat did not hiss. It did not run. It stepped aside, as if making room. The shape leaned forward, its face inches from mine, though I could not see its features, only darkness, only hunger. Then it spoke, not with my voice, not with my sister's voice, with Rowan's. "You should not have come back." The cat sat beside the creature, silent, watching me with eyes that no longer looked afraid. They looked resigned, as if this had always been the plan. The creature's voice echoed through the stone chamber. Rowan's tone stretched thin and hollow, as if spoken through a mouth that had never been meant for human words. The cat sat beside it, silent, unmoving, its pale eyes fixed on me with an expression I could not decipher. I whispered, "Rowan is dead." The creature tilted its head, the movement sharp and unnatural. Its limbs twitched as if remembering how to hold a shape. When it spoke again, the voice shifted, cracking like ice. He left. "You returned." The cat stepped forward, brushing against the creature's leg. The sight made my stomach twist. The cat had fought the house. It had protected me. But now it stood beside the thing that had taken Rowan's voice. I whispered, "Why are you doing this?" The cat blinked slowly. The creature leaned closer, its face still hidden in shadow. "You were chosen." The words vibrated through the chamber, sinking into my bones. I stumbled back, but the stone floor sloped downward, pulling me deeper into the room. The walls pulsed faintly, as if the entire space were alive. The cat walked toward me. Its steps were slow, deliberate. Its eyes glowed brighter than before, casting pale light across the stone. I backed away, heart pounding, but the cat kept coming until it stood inches from me. It meowed once, soft, almost gentle. Then the creature spoke again. "It remembers you." I froze. The cat pressed its head against my leg, the same gesture it had used to comfort me before. But now the touch felt different. Heavy, intentional. As if the cat were marking me, the creature continued. "The house remembers every name it has taken, every voice, every shape. It remembers Rowan, it remembers the others, and it remembers you." My breath caught. I whispered, "I have never been here before." The creature's limbs twitched. "You have." The cat stepped back, its tail flicking once. It stared at me with an intensity that made my skin crawl. The creature raised one long, thin arm and pointed toward the far wall. A faint glow appeared. A carving. I approached slowly, each step echoing through the chamber. The carving was crude, scratched into the stone with something sharp. A name, my name, not the name I used now, a name I had not heard since childhood, a name I had buried. The creature whispered it. The sound hit me like a blow. Memories flickered at the edges of my mind, a house that breathed, a door that moved, a cat with pale eyes watching me from the shadows, a voice calling me back. I stumbled, gripping the wall. I whispered, "No, that is not possible." The creature's voice shifted again, becoming softer, almost sympathetic. "You left, but the house does not forget." The cat walked to the carving and sat beneath it, tail curled neatly around its paws. It looked up at me, blinking slowly as if waiting for me to understand. The creature stepped closer. "You were the first. The house learned your voice, your name, your shape. It grew because of you." My heart pounded so hard it hurt. I whispered, "What did I do?" The creature leaned in, its face inches from mine. "You opened the door." The cat meowed again. Not a warning. Not fear. Something else. Recognition. The chamber trembled. Dust drifted from the ceiling. The walls pulsed faster, the heartbeat of the house growing stronger. The creature stepped back, its limbs unfolding like branches in a storm. "It is time." The cat walked to my feet and pressed against me, its pale eyes glowing brighter than ever, and I understood something terrible. The cat had not been protecting me. It had been guiding me, leading me back, because the house had been waiting for me. The chamber trembled as the creature stepped back, its limbs unfolding like a shadow peeling itself from the wall. The cat remained at my feet, its pale eyes glowing with a steady, unnatural light. The air thickened, vibrating with a low hum that made my teeth ache. I whispered, "What do you want from me?" The creature tilted its head, the movement sharp and insect-like. "To finish what you began." The cat meowed once, a soft sound that echoed strangely in the stone room. It walked toward the creature, tail low, ears flat. The creature lowered itself, its long limbs bending in ways that made my stomach twist. For a moment they faced each other in silence. Then the creature spoke again. "The house woke because of you. It learned your name, it learned your voice, it learned your fear, and it grew." I shook my head, backing away. I was a child. "I do not remember any of this." The creature's voice shifted, becoming softer, almost sympathetic. "You opened the door, you let it see you, and when you left, it waited. It remembered. It called you back." The cat turned toward me, blinking slowly. Its eyes glowed brighter, casting pale light across the chamber. The creature stepped aside, revealing something behind it. A door tall, narrow, made of the same dark wood as the one that had appeared in the hallway. But this one pulsed faintly, as if it had a heartbeat. The air around it shimmered, bending the light. The creature whispered, "The last door." I stumbled back, shaking. "No, I am not opening anything." The creature's limbs twitched. "You already did." The cat walked toward the door, its steps slow and deliberate. It looked back at me once, its pale eyes filled with something I could not name. Not fear, not warning. "Acceptance," I whispered. "Do not go." The cat pressed its head against the door. The wood rippled beneath its touch, as if it were made of water. The hum in the chamber grew louder, vibrating through the stone. The creature stepped closer to me. "The house does not want you. It wants what you carried, what you left behind, what the cat kept safe." I stared at the creature, heart pounding. What did I leave? The creature leaned in, its voice a whisper of dust and breath. "Your name." The chamber shook violently. Cracks spread across the stone floor. The door pulsed brighter, the wood glowing with a pale, sickly light. The cat pressed harder against it, its body trembling. I shouted, "Stop, please." The creature stepped back. "It is too late." The door split open, light poured out, pale, cold, blinding. The cat was swallowed by it, its silhouette stretching, twisting, dissolving into the glow. I reached for it, but the light burned my skin, forcing me back. The creature whispered, "It returns to what it was." The light dimmed. The door closed. The chamber fell silent. The cat was gone. I collapsed to my knees, shaking. The creature watched me with its hollow, shifting face. "The house is finished with you. It has taken back what it lost." I whispered, "Where is the cat?" The creature tilted its head. "It is the door now." The chamber trembled one last time. The walls rippled. The floor buckled. The creature stepped backward, dissolving into the stone like smoke sinking into water. The room vanished. I found myself standing in the hallway of the cottage, the air cold and still. The hidden door was gone. The new door was gone. The walls were smooth, unbroken. The house was silent. Empty. Dead. I walked to the front door and opened it. The moor stretched before me, quiet and gray. The wind carried no whispers. The grass did not shift. I stepped outside. Behind me, the cottage groaned softly. I turned. A single cat sat on the doorstep, black fur, pale eyes. But not the same. Its eyes were deeper now, older, filled with something vast and patient. It blinked once. Then the door behind it pulsed. A faint heartbeat. The cat meowed. Soft, familiar, final. And I understood. The house was not gone. It had only changed its keeper. And the cat, whatever it had become, was waiting for the next door to open.